From its origins to what has been done with some of its parts, join me as I reveal to you some of the most surprising facts about the Statue of Liberty. Number 12. It was an American in construction. When people think of the Statue of Liberty, they immediately think of what it meant to immigrants who came to the country in the early 1900s. And in modern times, it's recognized as one of the most important monuments in U.S. history. What many people forget was that this statue was not made by an American, period. Instead, it was made by a Frenchman. Two, in fact, depending on how you look at it. First was French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, and its metal framework was built by Gustave Eiffel. Yes, of the Eiffel Tower fame. Which goes to show how much credibility he had that he got to do two monuments that still stand today. Just as interesting though, because of the troubles in France at the time after the Revolutionary War, the statue itself couldn't be made until the 1870s. As if that wasn't enough, the statue had trouble getting the funding it needed, so some famous names, including Joseph Pulitzer, did fundraisers to help get it finished. Once built in France, it was shipped to the United States in crates over the course of months, and it was assembled on the island. The Statue of Liberty is held to a high standard and honor. For many immigrants, seeing Lady Liberty was proof that they had made it to their new home, and the iconic phrase on her, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," and the rest is considered a key phrase in history, a testament to what America was meant to be for the entire world. Number 11. The common name is a nickname. If I were to say to you, Statue of Liberty, you would know exactly what I meant. You would picture the iconic statue, maybe even do the pose that Lady Liberty is doing. But what a lot of people don't know is that the Statue of Liberty is a nickname for the statue given to it by the mainstream media. No, for real. When the French constructed it and christened it on Liberty Island, they had a very long and poetic name for the statue: Liberty enlightening the world. In other words, it was meant to be a name that spoke to how Lady Liberty was a symbol of America, of how being free was important, as was the freedom to do what you wanted more or less without the fear of a king. Which was ironic, as France at the time had Napoleon, who was a dictator, but that's another list topic. Eventually, Liberty enlightening the world became the Statue of Liberty, and that nickname has stuck ever since. 10. There is more than one. Usually when it comes to a major monument, there is just one of them. The White House, the Eiffel Tower, the Great Wall of China, Stonehenge, that kind of thing. And when you see the massive size and scope of the Statue of Liberty, you'd think the same thing, right? Well, not so much. In fact, there are many copies of the Statue of Liberty in various sizes all over the world. And no, I don't mean like gift shop versions of the statue that you can buy for a few bucks. I'm talking decent-sized monuments of the statue. Granted, none of them are as big as the one in New York City, but there are some that are really quite striking. Many of these came from the fact that the designers had to make scale models to plan out the metal work, and many of those were left in France after construction was finished, which was referenced in the movie National Treasure: Book of Secrets. Others can be found in Las Vegas, Norway, Denmark, and even Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. But again, nothing beats the original in terms of size. Before we expand your mind more on the lifetime of Lady Liberty, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our weekly videos. Number 9. The statue and the island used to house people. When it comes to the monuments of the world, there are people who are ordained to take care of it over the long term and make sure that people don't tag or violate the monuments. It's often a thankless job because we don't think about it that often. But now that we're talking about it, who does take care of the Statue of Liberty? That would be the superintendent of the site, and what's more, those who are deemed the superintendent get a special honor. They get to actually live on Liberty Island. Oh yeah! The most recent of them was David Luchsinger, who lived in a small brick house on the island with his wife. Not unlike past superintendents to the statue, they're honestly awarded the house and living areas when they get the job. However, after Hurricane Sandy in 2012, the house was damaged and they were forced to leave the island. Just as interesting, from 1818 until the mid-1930s, the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty was a military base, which meant that the families of the soldiers staying there had basically unrestricted access to the statue. In articles that were written after the fort closed down, they took a lot of liberties with what they should and shouldn't have done, including firing bottle rockets off the statue, bouncing baseballs off the torch to see how high they would bounce, and so on. Now, though, the island is deserted in terms of residents living there full-time. 8. You were once able to climb up the torch. If I was to ask you what the highest point of the Statue of Liberty was, you'd easily say, the torch. After all, that's the part of the statue that is the highest raised into the air via Liberty's arm. Today, you can only go as high as the crown section of the statue, but once upon a time, you were able to go up the arm and climb to the very top of the torch, which must have been a transcendent experience to be sure. The climb was difficult, and a lot of kids that were on the island did that climb as a dare. But for those responsible adults who waited until the statue was open for business, they could do it under supervision. Then came the Black Tom incident, when German agents in 1913, this was during World War I, were so desperate to stop a munitions transport from getting to Europe that they quite literally blew up an island. They ignited the munitions itself, which resulted in an explosion of about 2 million tons of explosive ordnance. Needless to say, that island was gone. But that's not the end of the story. The explosion wasn't just an island killer. It sent a shockwave that shattered windows 25 miles away, and it sent shrapnel in all directions, including up towards the Statue of Liberty. Due to this explosion, the torch section was shut down for repairs, and it was never reopened. Number 7. It's a climb to the top. You'd think that in the modern era that we live in, that someone would have installed an elevator in the Statue of Liberty. But nope, that would require a lot of work on the structure and beyond. So because of that, if you wish to get to the crown of the statue and observe the view from on high, you need to climb stairs, and not just a few, 354 of them. I hope you all are in good shape. Now, yeah, that is a lot, and it's going to take an effort to get up there, but the sight of New York and the Atlantic Ocean from that spot is pretty cool. So suck it up and climb. After all, do you want to be made fun of for not doing it because you were slightly out of shape or lazy? That's what I thought. 6. The spikes are a halo. There are many elements to the Statue of Liberty that make it such a visually striking statue. There's Lady Liberty herself wrapped in a robe, the torch symbolizing a beacon of hope, the book she holds that is inscribed with the Declaration of Independence, signing date, and more. But with the crown, there are 7 spikes that come off of it, and many think it's just an extension of the crown, when in reality, it's supposed to be something else. Mainly, it's a halo. Sure, it doesn't look like a typical halo, but the spikes are meant to represent that kind of shape, as well as symbolize the 7 seas and the 7 continents on our planet. At one point, they actually had to be removed because the things that held them to the crown had rusted over. Number 5. It was a lighthouse. While the torch that Lady Liberty holds is seen as a symbol of the light of hope or being a beacon of light for all to see, if you look at it close enough, you'll notice that the torch truly looks like it can be lightened up. And it was for a short period of time. For 2 years after the final construction of the Statue of Liberty, the torch was turned on so that the statue could be a literal lighthouse for New York and the ships coming to it. A rather brilliant idea. And like a good lighthouse, it functioned for some time. 16 years, in fact. So why did it shut down? It wasn't because of cost, ironically enough, but rather the light from the torch was too dim to see at sea, which for a lighthouse is a bad thing. So President Theodore Roosevelt ordered the torch be shut down so more proper lighthouses in the area could be built. 4. It didn't start out green. When the Statue of Liberty was constructed on Liberty Island, it wasn't green as you see it now. It was copper, which is appropriate because that's what it's made of mostly. So when it was unveiled, it looked like a very bright penny, which begs the question, how did it go from bright brown to green? The answer is time, because over time, certain metals get a different shade to them known as patina, and for copper, it goes from brown to green. The process was not quick, to be clear. It took about 20 to 30 years for the patina to shine forth. And when it was done, most people liked the look of it a lot better than the brown. So even when work was being done on it, the green was made sure to be the color they all saw. Ironically enough, the patina now acts as a protective layer to ensure that the statue doesn't rust or take serious damage from the weather. Number 3. The statue almost had a sister in Egypt. It's not uncommon for certain landmarks to have relatives depending on the significance of the statue, the fame of the builder, and more. As noted, the Statue of Liberty isn't singular, but a very close relative was almost made in Egypt once upon a time. This was due to the statue's sculptor Frédéric Bartholdi. Once he was done with the American statue, he went to Egypt and proposed a similar-like statue for the royalty there. In this case, it would go to the Suez Canal and also act as a lighthouse. Why wasn't it built? Simple, the rulers of Egypt deemed it too costly. 2. There was a real Lady Liberty. When it comes to art, especially sculptures featuring human beings, a question that is often asked is, who was this modeled after? Sometimes it's a famous person, like the Statue of David, and other times it's a mystery, like Mona Lisa. For the Statue of Liberty, though, sculptor Frédéric Bartholdi decided to quite literally look for a model close to home. He used his mother, to the extent that not only was it modeled after her, he dressed her up as the statue one time to impress a senator at an opera, and the senator was indeed impressed. Number 1. Parts of it were used to make a motorcycle. No, I'm not kidding you, and it was actually a really big deal when it happened. You see, the Statue of Liberty is made of copper in part, as we noted earlier, and during the restoration of the Statue of Liberty, the commission that takes care of it decided to take that copper and put it to good use. I'll let them describe the event. Through an exclusive agreement, Gold Leaf Corporation commissioned world-famous Orange County choppers to create a masterpiece of contemporary art utilizing artifacts preserved from the restoration of the Statue of Liberty. The Liberty Bike serves as an ambassador of liberty, perpetuating the message of liberty and freedom throughout America and the world. The Liberty Bike is entirely plated in copper, preserved from the centennial restoration of the Statue of Liberty National Monument. They weren't joking when they said the thing was almost entirely made of copper. It is, and it shines brightly because of it. Granted, there are some non-copper things, of course, including the wiring that helps the bike go. In fact, there is a section of wiring on the bike from the Statue of Liberty via the torch. Paul Jr. and Sr. worked really hard on the bike during a couple of episodes of American Chopper, and it stands as one of the most iconic builds they ever did. And at the time, Paul Jr. called it the most meaningful bike in the world. Thanks for watching. What did you think about these facts about the Statue of Liberty? Did some of them blow you away? Which one shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.